Good morning, or whatever time it is where you're at now. Today, doing what is that white thing? Oh, it's sunlight. Um, a personal memory of walking. A little background. Um, my mother was prescribed um belladonna and opium suppositories by her doctor before, during, and after her pregnancy with me. In the 60s, they had no clue about transfer of medications from mother to fetus and everything. So I was born addicted to opiums, which I made later, well, now, my body is opium resistant. And there were a few other things that, well, when I first started to walk, from what I could gather, I was clubfoot. And from my first little shoes, they were made at Grunman's in Vincennes, Indiana. And then that transferred to small cowboy boots. As my bones were solidifying, they were creating my arch and making my feet to where they were usable. Pretty ingenious for the early 60s. And I learned to walk by observing, wanting to get from one place to the other. There's a story there. The parsonage in Vincennes moved from Real Avenue to a more substantial home just down the street from the milk plant. Well, it didn't feel like home. So one day I took off and was running back to the old home. Mom was trying to catch me, and when she did, I looked up at her and said, "I tired. Let's sit." It kept me from getting a whooping. So as life progressed, I walked. I've danced. I probably, when I worked for the airlines, have walked around the world a few times, running those aisles and meeting everyone's requested needs. If you're not bleeding or throwing up or whatever, your cocktail can wait a minute. Well, there's a lot of complications, but we won't go into that. This is about how the memory of walking helped me to begin walking after my ischemic stroke. I spent a good long time in the hospital. Necrotic flesh removal, all sorts of things. And was told I would never get out of a wheelchair. I would never walk again. Well, that's not how it was written in this last part of my journey. They kicked me out of the hospital because I was going from private insurance to Medicare, Medicaid. M&M is the acronym they use at the hospitals. Spent the first 2 weeks laying on the living room floor where I was residing. When my housemate would go out to their job, they would leave me 2 containers of water, a jug to piss in, and plastic bags in case I needed to do the other thing. Well, that was long enough being on the floor. So I was next to a wing-back chair that has stories behind it. And using my upper body strength, I pulled myself up into it so I could sit upright. I don't know how many weeks it was that was my place. Sitting in a wing-back chair, 2 bottles of water, plastic bags, trying to keep my dignity. Then I started having, one of the visiting nurses, because my wound had to have a wound vac on it. It was quite large. And what the wound vac did was created a vacuum over the open wound while granulosum formed and skin cells would then develop and a slow healing process. There are situations during this period that have nothing to do with the memory of walking. Well, I had, besides the visiting nurse, I had 2 wonderful people. One I'd known from a previous congregation I had attended at Jesus MCC. The other one was a very sweet young lady involved with my physical therapy. She knew that I was not of a single mind. And through repetition and finding a different part of my brain, yes, I did smoke a little reefer then. It makes it easier to open your brain up and find a portion that could take over the lost portion of voluntary function. So I went from, the wheelchair was wonderful. At least I could get to my bed in my bedroom. Oh, that was tons of stories there. And I had to associate leg movement with digging my nails into my palm of the leg I wanted to move. Pavlovian stimuli response. So, with my walker, I would be gripping left, right, left, right. And I got to a shuffle. I maintained the walker for about 2 years, 3 years, whatever. And then eventually decided I'm going to use a cane. Walkers, how wonderful they are for movement, do not allow you to do anything else. But with a cane, and still consciously thinking about walking, I was able to move from place to place, and my stubborn self would push it to the limits. And I had some good falls. Got some scars on this head that should prove it. And for a while, I would venture walking without my cane. Oh, that was the apex. So, in a conscious part of my brain, there is the memory of walking. A lot of little things filter through the mind. But somehow, I don't know how, nor am I going to try to find out, I am able to walk with my cane and drive myself to places. The United States is totally different from Ireland. In Ireland, if you need help, the word gets around and things are handled. In the United States, everyone has a time clock. Well, blessings. Old, disabled, and dying are better not seen or heard. So, let me progress. Now, I still have paralysis from the waist down. I'm not able to turn in bed without grabbing hold of the headboard and using my upper body strength to move my lower body. When I lay down, waist down, paralysis is back. It's a mystery even to my doctors. Oh well. So, learning how to walk twice. The first time, special made shoes so I could walk. This, moving towards the end of this journey, I guess I walk by faith and grace. And it will continue until whatever my return reason has been fulfilled. That's my personal faith. So today my body's telling me, you've been pushing too hard. And we're now to one driving trip a day. And then maybe some small things around the house. And I have to remember that. Push more than that, and I'll pay for it for 2 days. I'm glad my body lets me know my limitations. Although I have allowed myself plans for next year. I even bought a 2025 calendar. We'll call that Great Expectations. There's so much more to share that I want to life skills teach, tell stories. I'd love to teach the youngers how to sew on a button. That would be a beginning. And the discovery of finding that there's another person, such as myself, working on their personal faith, their experience of modesty. It lifted up my soul. I am not a unit of one anymore. It takes personal faith, determination, human-made obstacles, Someday maybe I'll get into the church experience and learning how to walk again. The periods of shame, shunning, and being listed as a priest-only visitation. I'll be happy when there's no more stumbling stones or mountains in front of me, and that I can walk with my cane peacefully in the woods. Maybe meeting a full-grown stag again on a pathway. Well, I hope this wasn't too somber, but I needed a break from the theological, and I think anyone watching needed it too. But remember, you have value. You are important, and it's your journey. Well, my body might let me do a few things today. We'll see. Well, love to you all. And remember, no matter how difficult it is, be kind.